I am so lucky in my earnings from Wimbledon, with my earnings in general. I invest in my future.
Alex Ehler walked off centre court at Wimbledon 2026 with the biggest reward of her career. After an unforgettable 10-day run to the fourth round, the 21-year-old from Manila earned an impressive $396,100, the largest single prize check of her professional career. It was a breakthrough moment on tennis' biggest stage and a performance that elevated her to a new level in the sport. But the celebration didn't last long. Within just 48 hours, world number one Aryna Sabalenka ignited a major debate by publicly criticizing the prize money system that had produced Eala's historic payday. Rather than celebrating the record payouts, Sabalenka argued that the current structure still fails to fairly compensate players, despite Grand Slam tournaments generating billions through broadcasting rights, sponsorships, ticket sales, and hospitality. Her comments immediately shifted the conversation from Eala's remarkable achievement to a much larger battle over how professional tennis distributes its wealth, setting the stage for one of the biggest off-court stories of the 2026 season.
It's not easy to live in this tennis world with that percentage that we are earning.
Aryna Sabalenka believes Alex Ehler's historic Wimbledon payday should have been significantly larger. While Eala earned an impressive $396,100 for reaching the fourth round, the world number one argues that the figure still falls well short of what players deserve based on the enormous revenues generated by Grand Slam tournaments. That belief has become the driving force behind one of the biggest financial debates in modern tennis. Wimbledon 2026 marked another milestone in Eala's remarkable rise. For the first time in her career, she entered a Grand Slam as a seeded player, arriving in London as the tournament's number 29 seed. By the time her memorable run came to an end, she had climbed to a career-high world number 28 while collecting a prize of approximately £300,000, the biggest paycheck she has ever received. That single tournament dramatically changed the financial picture of Eala's career. The Wimbledon prize accounted for nearly one-third of all the prize money she has earned since turning professional. It wasn't simply a reward for one strong tournament. It was the kind of breakthrough that can reshape an athlete's future by providing greater financial security and allowing further investment in coaching, travel, training, and support staff. Before the championships even began, Sabalenka made it clear that she intended to keep pushing for change. During a press conference at the All England Club on June 27, she openly challenged the current financial structure of Grand Slam tennis and refused to back away from the discussion despite repeated questioning. Importantly, her criticism is not directed at the WTA Tour. Instead, Sabalenka is targeting the four independent organizations that operate Wimbledon, Roland Garros, the US Open, and the Australian Open. She has also found support among several of the sport's biggest stars, including Coco Gauff, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Jessica Pegula. Earlier this year, those players reportedly joined together in signing a letter requesting one major reform, increasing the players' share of Grand Slam revenue to 22%. According to player representatives, Grand Slam tournaments currently distribute only around 15 to 16% of their revenue as prize money, while many ATP and WTA 1000 events already return approximately 22%. That difference has become the central issue in the ongoing negotiations. Sabalenka has even suggested that players could eventually consider a boycott if meaningful progress is not made. It was one of the strongest public statements made by a reigning world number one in years, and she has continued to stand by those remarks throughout the season. Meanwhile, Eala's Wimbledon performance gave fans plenty to celebrate. She began her campaign by defeating Renata Zarazua, earning revenge for an earlier loss. She then advanced with another impressive victory over number 21 seed Marie Bouzkova to reach the second week of a Grand Slam for the first time in her career. Her biggest test came on center court against Jasmine Paolini. Eala produced another fearless performance, capturing the second set 6-4 before eventually falling in 3 competitive sets. Even in defeat, she collected 240 valuable ranking points, reached a new career-high ranking of world number 28, and secured the largest prize money award of her professional career. Back home, the achievement quickly became national news. Filipino media estimated the prize at roughly 24.3 million Philippine pesos, a figure that generated enormous attention across the country. For many fans, the amount symbolized far more than a tennis paycheck. It represented a new era for Filipino sport and showed what is possible when an athlete reaches the highest levels of international competition. Sabalenka, however, believes that even those record-breaking figures fail to reflect the true financial success of Grand Slam tournaments. Wimbledon 2026 featured a record total prize fund of £64.2 million, yet she argues that the percentage allocated to players has remained virtually unchanged for nearly a decade despite enormous increases in television contracts, sponsorship agreements, hospitality packages, and global media rights. During one of her press conferences, Sabalenka pointed out that while tournament revenues have continued to soar, the players' share has remained almost exactly the same. In her view, athletes are responsible for creating the product that attracts millions of viewers worldwide, making a larger share of the revenue entirely justified. The debate took another interesting turn when a reporter questioned whether it was contradictory for someone wearing luxury jewelry to argue for higher prize money. Sabalenka rejected that criticism, explaining that her campaign was never about increasing her own wealth. Instead, she emphasized that she was speaking on behalf of lower-ranked professionals who often struggle to pay for coaches, physiotherapists, travel expenses, and the basic costs required to compete on the international tour. That perspective helps explain why Alex Ehler's Wimbledon breakthrough has become such an important example in the discussion. Rising stars outside the very top of the rankings rely heavily on Grand Slam prize money to continue developing their careers. A deep run at a major tournament can provide the financial stability needed to compete consistently at the highest level. Supporters of the players' proposal estimate that if Grand Slams adopted the requested 22% revenue-sharing model, Eala's fourth-round prize would likely have been far greater than $396,100. The matches, the results, and her remarkable performance would have remained exactly the same, but the financial reward could have been substantially larger, creating even more opportunities for the next stage of her career. Supporters of the players' proposal believe Alex Ehler's remarkable Wimbledon run should have been worth far more. Under the revenue-sharing model being requested by the player coalition, estimates suggest her fourth-round prize could have reached $550,000 to $600,000 instead of approximately $396,100. The performance would have been exactly the same. The matches, the ranking points, and the unforgettable center-court appearance would not have changed. Only the financial reward, and potentially the opportunities it creates for the future, would have been different. One of the key figures driving this movement is Jessica Pegula. A longtime member of the WTA Top 10 and a multiple-time Grand Slam quarterfinalist, Pegula also comes from one of the wealthiest families in American sports. As the daughter of the owners of the NFL's Buffalo Bills and the NHL's Buffalo Sabres, she has never relied on prize money to secure her future. Ironically, that financial independence has made her one of the coalition's most influential voices. Speaking publicly about the issue, Pegula has consistently argued that the campaign is not about wealthy players demanding even more money. Instead, she says it is about achieving a fair share of the enormous revenues generated by Grand Slam tournaments. She believes that while television contracts, sponsorships, hospitality, and ticket sales have all reached record levels, player compensation has failed to keep pace. Her position carries particular weight because she has little personal financial incentive to campaign for larger prize checks. Instead, Pegula has repeatedly emphasized that she is speaking on behalf of players ranked well outside the spotlight, those trying to cover the enormous costs of coaching, travel, accommodation, medical treatment, and training while fighting simply to remain on tour. As attention shifts toward the US Open, the pressure surrounding this issue continues to grow. The tournament is only weeks away, and Aryna Sabalenka will arrive in New York as the defending women's singles champion. Earlier this season, she openly suggested that players could eventually consider a boycott if negotiations fail to produce meaningful progress. Since then, she has continued to stand firmly behind that position. With support from stars including Coco Gauff, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Jessica Pegula, Sabalenka enters the US Open with significant influence. As one of the sport's biggest names and the defending champion, her voice carries enormous weight during discussions about the future of prize money and player compensation. The dispute itself is far from new. The Women's Tennis Association was founded in 1970 after players united in pursuit of fairer treatment and better financial opportunities. 3 years later, the ATP was created with many of the same objectives. While disagreements over revenue sharing have surfaced repeatedly throughout tennis history, it has been many years since so many leading players from both tours have presented such a united front. The outcome of these negotiations could have an especially important impact on athletes from emerging tennis nations. Players such as Alex Ehler of the Philippines, Camila Osorio of Colombia, and Ons Jabeur of Tunisia have demonstrated that world-class talent is now emerging from countries that historically produced far fewer elite professionals. For many rising stars, advancing from the third round to the fourth round of a Grand Slam can completely transform a season financially, allowing them to invest in stronger coaching teams, better preparation, and continued international competition. Eala's Wimbledon performance perfectly illustrates that reality. Against Jasmine Paolini on center court, she captured a set against one of the world's top players before narrowly missing out on a place in the quarterfinals. Although the defeat was disappointing, it confirmed that she can compete with the very best on the sport's biggest stages. Following the tournament, Eala chose not to involve herself in the ongoing debate over prize money. During her post-match press conference, she avoided discussing the financial controversy altogether. Instead, she focused on her tennis, describing Wimbledon as another important step in her development and making it clear that she views this breakthrough as only the beginning of a much bigger journey. Sabalenka's tournament ended 1 day earlier after a hard-fought defeat to Naomi Osaka. Speaking afterward, the world number one admitted she was deeply disappointed by the loss, but continued to push for changes to the sport's financial structure, ensuring that the conversation surrounding prize money remained at the forefront of tennis headlines. The contrast between the two players was striking. Eala quietly celebrated the most successful Grand Slam run of her career before returning home to prepare for the next challenge. Sabalenka, meanwhile, used her platform as the world's top-ranked player to publicly challenge the financial system that governs the sport. Ultimately, this debate extends far beyond a single paycheck. It asks a much larger question about the future of professional tennis and how the sport should reward the athletes who create its biggest moments. As tournament revenues continue to rise year after year, many players believe they deserve a larger share of that success. With the US Open approaching, the discussion is likely to become even more intense. Whether negotiations lead to compromise or further confrontation remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the conversation that began during Wimbledon is far from over. The decisions made in the coming weeks could shape the financial future of professional tennis for years to come. The biggest question now belongs to the fans. If negotiations fail and players seriously consider stronger action before the US Open, whose side would you support? Should the athletes receive a larger share of Grand Slam revenues, or should the current system remain unchanged? The answer could have a lasting impact not only on established champions, but also on rising stars like Alex Ehler, whose future may depend on opportunities created by a fairer financial structure.